It stings when someone treats you like an option. It messes with your head, making you question yourself, why wasn't I enough? What did I do wrong? But here's the truth, this isn't about you lacking something. It's about them failing to recognize what was right in front of them. And the key is this, when someone doesn't see your value, that's your sign to stop proving it to them. Too often we overcompensate when we feel overlooked, giving more, trying harder, hoping they'll wake up and realize what they had. But value doesn't beg to be seen, it simply exists. And if they can't see it, they don't deserve it. Imagine walking into a store and seeing a diamond ring behind glass. You don't need a salesperson convincing you of its worth. You already know. The moment someone has to sell it too hard, its value feels questionable. But when it sits there, undisturbed, the right person steps forward without hesitation. That's the energy you should embody. The right people won't need to be chased or convinced. If someone treats you like an option, their uncertainty is your answer. People make time for what matters to them. If you're a priority, you'll never be left wondering where you stand. Instead of asking, how can I make them choose me? Ask, why would I choose someone who doesn't choose me wholeheartedly? So many of us get stuck trying to earn love, believing if we just say the right thing, act the right way, they'll finally give us the commitment we crave. But love shouldn't feel like a battle. If you're fighting just to be seen, even if they eventually choose you, what kind of relationship is that? One where you're always on edge, always trying to prove your worth. That's not love, that's survival. Rejection isn't the enemy, settling for the wrong person is. Rejection is redirection. It's life saying, not this, something better is coming. In the moment, it hurts. It feels like loss, like you weren't good enough. But when you start seeing rejection as information rather than failure, everything changes. It's telling you, this person isn't for you. And that's okay. You can't see that if you're too busy forcing something that was never meant to fit. So what do you do when someone treats you like an option? You walk away, not to manipulate them, but because you know your worth. You shift your energy to people and situations that make you feel valued. And when you do, one of two things happens. Either they feel the loss and come back, but by then you've moved on, or they don't, and you realize you're better off. Either way, you win. The next time someone makes you feel replaceable, don't internalize it. See it as clarity, a chance to walk away with your dignity intact, making space for what truly deserves you. People don't value what they think will always be there. They take for granted the things they assume will never leave. But the moment they sense scarcity, the moment something slips away, they suddenly realize its worth. The same applies to relationships. If someone assumes you'll always be there, they won't prioritize you. They'll treat you as an option, not a priority. The key isn't to convince them of your value, it's to show them, through your actions, that you won't accept being treated that way. When you stop being available at their convenience, they feel the shift, they notice your absence. And that's when they start questioning what they lost. But here's the catch, this only works if you genuinely move on. If you're pretending to be indifferent just to get a reaction, you're still giving them power. Real strength is when their presence or absence no longer affects you. When you're truly detached, that's when they feel the loss the most. Because suddenly the person they thought would always wait is gone, and they don't get another chance. The best revenge isn't making them regret it, it's indifference. It's building a life so fulfilling that their opinion no longer matters. Instead of trying to prove your worth to someone who didn't see it, redirect that energy into yourself. Become the kind of person who attracts the right people naturally. When you stop chasing, you create space for those who recognize your value without explanation. The right person won't need your absence to realize your worth. They'll see it while you're still there. So if someone treats you like an option, don't beg. Don't explain. Don't waste time on someone who doesn't fear losing you. Walk away quietly, confidently, and let your absence speak for itself. The people who truly value you will never let you question where you stand. And those who don't, they were never yours to begin with. Your worth isn't determined by someone's inability to see it. This single truth holds the power to free you from the endless cycle of seeking validation from those who don't appreciate you. So often, when someone treats us as an afterthought, we internalize their actions as a reflection of our value. We ask ourselves, what's wrong with me? Why don't they care? But the reality is, their behavior says far more about them than it does about you. Think of it like this: if you walked into a room full of people and one person didn't acknowledge you, would you assume the entire room found you unworthy? Of course not. You'd recognize that the one person's indifference is their own issue. Maybe they're distracted, uninterested, or simply not the kind of person who appreciates what you bring to the table. The same principle applies in relationships. Just because one person fails to recognize your worth doesn't mean you lack it. Their oversight is their limitation, not your deficiency. Too often, we make the mistake of tying our self-worth to how others treat us. We believe that if we can just make someone see how special we are, they'll change. But here's the hard truth: you can't convince someone to value you. Real recognition isn't something that can be negotiated or earned through persistence. It's either there, or it isn't. And when it's not, no amount of effort on your part will create it. The moment you find yourself trying to prove your worth to someone, you've already handed them power they don't deserve. This doesn't mean you're unlovable or inadequate. It simply means that person isn't capable of appreciating what you offer, and that's their loss. Your value exists independently of their acknowledgement. A diamond doesn't lose its brilliance just because someone walks past it without noticing. It remains priceless, whether it's admired or ignored. The same applies to you. Your kindness, your loyalty, your love. These things don't diminish just because someone takes them for granted. They're inherent qualities, not transactional currencies that require reciprocation to retain their meaning. The danger comes when we start believing that our worth is negotiable, that it fluctuates based on how others treat us. This mindset leads to a painful cycle of seeking approval from people who've already shown they're unwilling or unable to give it. You might bend over backward to meet their expectations, suppress your needs to keep them comfortable, or silence your voice to avoid conflict. But each time you do, you chip away at your own self-respect. You teach yourself that love is something to be earned rather than something you inherently deserve. Breaking this cycle begins with a simple but radical shift: understanding that your worth is not up for debate. It's not something others get to vote on. It's a fixed, unshakable truth. When someone treats you poorly, it's not a signal to work harder for their approval. It's a sign that they're not the right person for you. The right people won't keep you guessing. They won't make you question whether you're enough. They'll show up consistently, not because you've convinced them to, but because they genuinely want to. This isn't about arrogance or refusing to grow. It's about recognizing the difference between constructive feedback, which helps you evolve, and emotional neglect, which diminishes you. One comes from a place of care, the other from indifference. You can accept that you're not perfect while still refusing to accept treatment that makes you feel small. Growth and self-worth aren't mutually exclusive. You can strive to be better without believing you're not already worthy of respect. The most liberating realization is this: you don't need everyone to see your value. You just need the right people to recognize it. And those people will find you not because you've convinced them, but because they're the kind of people who appreciate what you naturally are. Until then, your job isn't to persuade the unwilling. It's to protect your energy, honor your boundaries, and trust that the right connections will meet you where you are. So the next time someone makes you feel invisible, remember, their inability to see you doesn't make you disappear. You're still whole, you're still valuable. And most importantly, you're still enough, exactly as you are, with or without their approval. The moment you find yourself bending over backward to prove your worth to someone who treats you as disposable, is the moment you've already lost. There's a painful irony in how we chase after people who show us the least consideration, as if their validation could somehow cement what we should already know about ourselves. This desperate need to convince others of our value stems from a fundamental misunderstanding that worth is something to be earned from external sources, rather than something inherent we carry within. When someone treats you like an option, keeping you on the back burner while they explore other possibilities, responding only when convenient, making you feel like you're constantly auditioning for a role in their life, your natural instinct might be to try harder. You might think if you just show up more perfectly, love more selflessly, make yourself more available, then surely they'll finally see what they're missing. But this approach is fundamentally flawed because it operates on the false premise that their inability to recognize your worth is about you, rather than about them. The truth is, no amount of proving will make someone value you if they've already demonstrated they don't. People who truly appreciate you don't need convincing. They don't require elaborate demonstrations of your loyalty or constant reminders of your good qualities. Their regard for you shows up in consistent actions, in the way they prioritize you, respect your time, and make you feel secure in the relationship. When you have to endlessly justify why you deserve basic consideration, you're not in a relationship, you're in a negotiation with someone who's already shown their terms are unacceptable. The compulsion to prove ourselves often comes from childhood wounds, where love felt conditional, where we learned we had to perform to receive affection or approval. We carry these patterns into adulthood, unconsciously recreating dynamics where we must earn our place in someone's life. But healthy relationships don't operate this way. You shouldn't have to convince someone you're worth caring about any more than a rose needs to convince anyone of its fragrance. Either they appreciate it, or they don't molt, and if they don't, that says nothing about the rose. Every moment you spend trying to prove your worth to someone who treats you as optional is a moment stolen from your own life. That energy could be channeled into nurturing relationships where you're cherished, pursuing passions that light you up, or simply resting in the quiet certainty of your own enoughness. The more you pour into people who don't reciprocate, the more you reinforce the damaging belief that you must work for love, rather than simply receive it as your birthright. Breaking this cycle requires ruthless honesty. You must ask yourself, why am I investing in someone who invests so little in me? What void am I trying to fill through their approval? What would happen if I redirected this energy toward people and pursuits that actually value what I bring? The answers might be uncomfortable, but they'll lead you toward profound self-respect. There's incredible power in withdrawing your efforts from those who don't appreciate them. Not as a manipulation tactic, but as an act of self-preservation. When you stop proving, you create space for two possibilities. Either the person realizes what they're taking for granted, and steps up, in which case you can decide if their change is genuine, or they don't molt, which confirms they were never your person to begin with. Either outcome serves your highest good better than lingering in limbo, begging for crumbs of attention. The most attractive quality you can cultivate isn't perfection or people-pleasing. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth isn't up for debate. This doesn't mean being arrogant or closed off to growth. It means understanding the difference between improving yourself for your own satisfaction versus contorting yourself to fit someone else's inconsistent standards. At some point, you must decide, will I keep knocking on doors that refuse to open, or will I turn toward those already welcoming me in? The choice isn't between being loved and being alone, it's between settling for less than you deserve, or holding out for what's real. When you stop proving your worth to the wrong people, you become available to those who recognize it without explanation. And that's where true connection begins. Not with persuasion, but with mutual recognition. Your worth isn't a thesis to be defended, or a product to be sold. It's the quiet pulse of your being that needs no external validation to keep beating. The right people will hear its rhythm, and respond in kind, not because you've convinced them, but because they were always meant to. Until then, your most revolutionary act is to stop proving what was never in question. Rejection cuts deep, because it triggers our most primal fears, the terror of being cast out from the tribe, deemed unworthy of love and belonging. In those raw moments when someone turns away from us, it's nearly impossible to see anything but the pain. The immediate interpretation is always personal, I wasn't good enough. I'm flawed, I'm unlovable. But this interpretation misses the profound truth that rejection is often life's way of course correcting. Removing what doesn't fit to make space for what truly does. The human mind struggles to comprehend that something painful could simultaneously be protective. We're wired to interpret discomfort as danger, rather than potential growth. Yet every meaningful evolution in your life has required some version of release, leaving behind what no longer served you to make room for what could. Relationships operate by the same principle. When someone rejects you, they're not just taking something away, they're creating an opening for connections that won't require you to shrink, beg, or settle. The universe has a way of removing people who would block the arrival of those truly meant for you, even when you can't yet see the bigger picture. Consider this: every wrong person who exits your life is effectively doing you a favor. They're saving you from investing more time in dead-end relationships that would only lead to greater pain down the road. The person who ghosts you after 3 dates has given you the gift of their absence, rather than wasting 3 years of your life in half-hearted commitment. The partner who leaves has created space for someone who will stay. These aren't just platitudes, they're mathematical certainties. There's only so much emotional real estate in your life, and every rejection clears space for better alignment. The most painful rejections often come disguised as life's greatest blessings. That job you didn't get. It might have trapped you in a career path that would have drained your soul. The relationship that ended. It may have prevented you from meeting your true life partner. We judge these experiences by their immediate sting, rather than their long-term significance. But time consistently reveals how rejection protected us from settling for less than we deserved. The key is developing the faith to trust this process, even when you're in the thick of heartbreak. Resistance to rejection stems from our illusion of control. We secretly believe, if we just love harder, prove ourselves more, or perfect our behavior, we could have prevented the abandonment. But this is magical thinking. No amount of personal perfection can force compatibility where none exists. The right relationships don't require you to contort yourself into someone else's ideal. They fit naturally, like puzzle pieces designed to connect. When someone rejects you, they're simply acknowledging the misfit you've been trying to ignore. Their honesty, however painful, is doing you both a service. There's an alchemy to transforming rejection into redirection. It begins with shifting your focus from what you've lost to what you've been freed to find. The energy you once poured into someone who didn't appreciate you can now flow toward people and pursuits that truly value what you bring. Every morning you're not wasting on someone who made you feel small is a morning you can devote to building a life where you feel whole. This isn't about positive thinking, it's about practical redirection of your most precious resources: time, attention, and love. The people who belong in your life won't require you to constantly earn your place. They'll choose you as enthusiastically as you choose them. They'll make you feel secure, rather than anxious. They'll appreciate what you offer rather than treat it as disposable. These connections exist, but you can't embrace them while clinging to relationships that were never meant to last. Rejection creates the necessary space for these healthier bonds to form. Your future self already knows this truth. Think back to past heartbreaks that once felt unbearable. Can you now see how they led you to better places? The same perspective will eventually come to your current pain. One day you'll trace the line from this rejection to something far better suited for you. Until then, your job isn't to rush the healing or force the lesson. It's simply to trust that life is rerouting you toward love that won't make you beg for the bare minimum. The most beautiful love stories often begin with rejection, not as punishment, but as preparation. What feels like an ending is really life's way of saying not this, something better. And when you finally arrive where you were always meant to be, you'll understand why every previous no was necessary. To reach this yes,